We need 5 Democrat senators to pull their heads out of their and go work for the United States of America.
Republicans in Congress trying to smack some sense into Democratic leaders for keeping the government shut down. Now on day 29, as some big deadlines loom, the troops are on the verge of missing a paycheck, and funding for SNAP food stamps is set to run out this week. And Democrats are refusing to budge because it's easier to blame the orange man.
On Saturday, for the first time in American history, a vicious, heartless president is cutting off food stamps. This president is a liar. He says there's no money to provide food stamps because of the shutdown. That's
Donald Trump is trying to weaponize hunger to pressure people on Capitol Hill.
The Dems are banking on Republicans getting the blame if food banks start overflowing, but CNN's data guru says not so fast.
Republican Congress's net approval rating versus pre-shutdown. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this, the net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this, among independents. It's up 8 points as well. So we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle.
You know, Dana, I think the Dems could have gotten away with the shutdown as the Republicans' fault before Musk bought X. But the population is too savvy. Yeah. So if you say, oh, they create the House and Senate, Jessica, a 10-year-old can easily refute that by just saying, no, you need 60, and that's on the Democrats.
Right. And the Democrats, I think the Republicans have a very simple message. The Democrats shut down the government. The Democrats could reopen the government. That's the bottom line. So I think it was a little jarring this morning to realize that 1 in 8 Americans are still needing the supplemental nutritional supplement. Now, that is something I think post shutdown, maybe we should all talk about.
You should look into who's getting them, what proportion of the party they belong to.
But also the people that are desperate, that do need it. Like,
yeah, versus those who don't.
Figure out a way, like with some more economic growth. Like, where's that plan? So I do think the polling shows that it's hurting Democrats. It's actually hurting Schumer, and his polling numbers were low to begin with. It's sort of ironic, too, that the Democrats all say that Trump is a wannabe dictator, he's a fascist, and they say that he needs to share, no kings. But yet now they say he's the only one that could reopen the government. They could actually reopen the government. They could do it tomorrow. Senator Thune that was the most animated I had ever seen, that very calm Midwestern guy. Mm-hmm. He's mad. He said, we've tried to do what they want to do 13 times. There was a senator on today that said, don't let the Democrats vote piecemeal. And I think that that's the right tact.
Emily, it's day 29. It's getting pretty bad. Jerry Nadler is now buying generic diapers. So bad. But do you think that it feels like the key to the Democrat success is other people's suffering? They're basically taking their own constituency and holding them like in this kind of like threat, I don't know what you call it. Hostage. Thank you.
Anytime. Yeah, I think it's an abomination because they're doing that from the safety and comfort of their own offices while they're enjoying their paychecks. They are enjoying as well, for example, the protection by certain officers and Secret Service, let's say, they're not getting their paychecks. And I spend a lot of time, with my friends and my family talking about this because I see, for example, a friend of mine, Secret Service, who has a new baby at home, and that's a primary income family coming from his paycheck. So what's happening? They're dipping into their savings. Their savings isn't high yield. So they're losing that interest that they've accrued. And now, sure, they're going to get, they'll be paid. But that's not the same thing. It actually doesn't account for the momentum that they were already getting in their accounts. Another married couple, friends of mine, are both, one is a contractor for the government, which, by the way, represents almost 4 million Americans. And the other was she'd accepted a contract with the government. Well, that first one has now had to totally dip into her PDOs, her paid time off, to get paid because in the contractor situation, it's not a definite that you get your paycheck again. And the other one, guess what she did? She rescinded her contract with the government, completely withdrawing, saying, you know what, I actually can't be a nurse for the government anymore, because if this happens again, we can't feed our family because both paychecks are dependent on this. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? I come from a family where thankfully one of us gets paid elsewhere so that our money together combined can account for the other loss of a paycheck. So the realities of this go so much further than everyone who's fixated on Trump. It makes me sick that Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are fixated on Trump when they should be fixated on Americans, the federal administration, those employees that are going to work day in and day out and still not getting a paycheck and suffering because they are just caring about their dopamine clicks.
Joey, you know, I think when you look at that polling, I feel like part of that is due to after the Biden cover-up, no one feels compelled to take the word of Democrats or the media. They've lost credibility. So they're just, if they're blaming the Republicans, people are going like, well, then it can't be the Republicans' fault.
Yeah, this is one of those things that's always hard for me to put myself in regular folks' shoes, because I worked on the Hill and I nerd out on the process, the legislative process. And I can talk to folks and hear.
I can't even make a joke.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was just excited to talk about this. You know, I talk the way I do and I make jokes. And sometimes I have to remind people, actually, I'm kind of smart. I just want to start that way. But like, when it comes to this government shutdown, Americans are sitting there going, wait, hold on. Two things are true, right? You can fund the government the same way it was funded for 7 weeks, and then the president said he would negotiate with you on the healthcare stuff before that time limit comes up. Why is that a bad deal? Why doesn't that work for you? And why doesn't it work for them? Because they don't think they'll win that negotiation either, and that's the problem. When Chuck Schumer stands up there and he uses cuss words, what he's really saying is every opportunity I've had to advocate for my constituents that want the policies I advocate for, I've failed at this entire time. And this is my last opportunity to get anything I would like to get done because I'm not very good at my job anymore. And this is all I have. And in the meantime, people who vote for him are hurting, and I don't see why they would swing towards supporting what he's doing. On the SNAP thing, just real quick, almost $700 million of $8 billion a month comes to New York for SNAP. That's almost 10% of the country's SNAP comes to New York. And that's before Mamdani becomes mayor of this place. I mean, I think you said a few seconds ago, why are people on SNAP? Why do they continue to need to be on SNAP? And maybe it does need things like work requirements that are so difficult that if you're under the age of 64, or if you have a child over the age of 14, 80 hours a week, you have to look for a job, train for a job, or volunteer. Oh my God, I don't know how anybody could do that.
And how many of that goes to illegals? Do we know? I don't know. I'm sure it's out there.
So if you're illegal, you could have a legal baby, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
yeah. So Jessica,
or an American citizen as well.
Can you tell me how this is the Republicans' fault?
Sure.
I'm asking for a friend.
I'm glad that you saw my tweet. It asked 3 million nasty people on the internet, but I knew exactly what I was saying, because the point is that with great power comes great responsibility. I heard that once in a great Spider-Man movie. And Republicans are in charge. They're not 60 votes in charge, but they've got a majority of the way there. And when you are in charge and you don't have all the votes that you need, it is incumbent upon you to make a deal with the people whose votes you need. And based on prior voting for CRs, you know that there are moderate Democrats who would certainly be willing to have a conversation with you if you would do that properly timed, not open up the government and then make the same promises that they have for months. I mean, this has been going on since the big, beautiful bill was signed, that they've been saying, yeah, we want to do something on ACA premiums, and then they keep kicking the can down the road. We know that Harry Enton is about to, maybe while we're speaking right now, there will be another clip with the reverse story out about what's going on. And so I'll do the work for him. Harry Enton put up the Navigator survey, which shows that the American public is blaming the Republicans by 14 points now, and it was just 10 points last week. The story about Democrats cutting off SNAP benefits and that we're the heartless ones and Mike Johnson feels terrible is how you say BS. Mike Johnson, in his big, beautiful bill, $186 billion gone from the SNAP program. And in the 2018 shutdown, Donald Trump made sure that people got their SNAP benefits because he knows that it's important. And that's why Josh Hawley wants to have a standalone bill about SNAP. Josh Hawley, who also wants a standalone bill to make sure that people get their Medicaid coverage back because the big, beautiful bill takes it away. So, Gregory, that is how I have shown you that my tweet wasn't dumb. That I'm not dumb, and that this is the Republicans' fault. If you are in charge, You have to negotiate. And just saying over and over, we need to open the government and then we promise we'll do it.
Translation, we have to negotiate, meaning we have to give in to you.
You have to give something. That is how this works.
I think.
And what are you planning on giving?
Just allowing this to happen is a cooperation. You guys have to actually somehow stop lying to us about these benefits.
Nothing that I have said is a lie. Nothing at all. If you get
Healthcare for illegals?
90% of the big, beautiful bill, and you have to protect Americans' health care, which, by the way, they'll reward you at the polls. Because guess what? People like to have health care coverage, and they don't want to see their premiums go up 114%. You will be thanking me. You will not be mocking me. You will be bowing down at my altar about the fact that I saved your party.
Yes, yes.
We know how this ends. I said, when it first started, I said, we all know how this is going to end. It will end with the Democrats caving. The pain is optional. They continue the suffering.
Ooh, I like the way you say that. Hey, I'm Dana. The pain is optional. You go sit over there. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Don't come out of your corner.
Yes.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.